The supply boat shoved off before I could wave. My duffel hit the stones with a wet thud, and then the men were gone. Engine noise smothered by wind, swallowed by sea. The lighthouse loomed above me, black stone and glass cutting the sky. A tower built to outlast flesh. It didn't feel like safety. It felt like a tomb. I climbed. Salt and moss slicked each step. My boot slid once, my hand shot for the rail. Rust bit my palm, wet and cold. For a second, I thought the sea would take me before I even reached the door. Inside, the air hit worse than the gale. Stale, damp, heavy with the stench of lamp oil long burned and paper rotted from salt. A silence that belonged to places people had abandoned. The radio cracked alive. Fraser. Callum Fraser? Yes. This is McLeod, mainland. Duty standard, log conditions, service barograph, run foghorn. But hear me. At 3:17, you count the Fresnel panels. There are 12. If you see more, you shut the cover and get downstairs. Immediately. More? My throat caught. You don't wait. You don't watch. You go. His voice left no room, then static ate it. On the desk lay the logbook. Damp, mottled, edges soft with mildew. The last entry bled into blur. The next page torn clean out. What remained, a single line gouged into the margin with heavy pencil. Don't answer them. The foghorn moaned. The sound rose through the walls like something alive, rattling glass and bone. Then it broke, half a beat off, as if the horn had tried to form a word and choked. I took the spiral stair up. Each tread clanged. The iron was slick under my boots, salt blooming along the walls. Halfway, my knees trembled. I told myself it was the climb, not the cold drilling marrow. At the top, the lens turned, 12 tall panels of glass. They cut the lamp into blades that swung out into the dark. The gears ticked, too steady, not human. I leaned into the gallery rail. My breath frosted the pane. Horizon empty, nothing but black water and bruised cloud. Then, light. A blue-white spark flared against the waves. It burned sharp, then died. A flare, distress. Training jolted my gut. On the Argyll, years back I had hesitated. Too slow, one man drowned for it. That weight never left me. My hand found the signal lever before I knew it. Slick. My grip slipped, palm wet with salt and sweat. I swallowed hard, my chest locked. The horn bellowed again. Wrong. Choked. Dragging. My skin crawled. The flare blinked a second time, lower, closer to the surface. The beacon sweep followed, and in that strobe I saw him. A man, standing at the rail outside, head tilted, still as iron. The light swung again. The gallery was empty. I jerked back. Boots skidded. My hand scraped rust from the hatch. Heart hammering. The logbook's words burned behind my eyes. Don't answer them. I slammed the lamp cover shut, turned the hatch, and forced myself down the stair, legs shaking. The stair rang with my boots all the way down. I kept bracing for a second tread behind me, but the tower stayed empty. Only the groan of iron, and my breath in the stale dark. The logbook sat damp on the desk. I closed it, the gouged words burned anyway. I checked the instruments to steady my hands. Barograph needle creeping, clock tick clean, thermometer holding at 6, routine. Machines followed rules, machines didn't lie. Up again with the cleaning kit. Rags stiff with salt, a flask of alcohol, scraper dulled from years. The lamp room smelled of old oil and wet brass. Salt hung in the air, sharp enough to sting the nose. The Fresnel lens turned, tall sheets of glass sweating, each panel thicker than a coffin wall. I leaned in, rag against the glass. My reflection bent and warped across the curve. Breath clouded the surface. That was when I saw it. A side hatch, steel, chained, padlocked. I'd skimmed it earlier. Now it glared. A room locked from the outside. I touched the chain. Frost bit through the links. Instinct said check. My stomach said leave it. I walked away. The hours dragged under the horn's moan. At 3:16, my body moved on its own, training or fear. I climbed. Each tread rattled like it wouldn't hold. At the top, the lens kept turning. 12 faces of glass. I counted out loud. 1, 2, 3. My voice thin against the curve. 4, 5, 6. By 9, the air pressed tighter. By 11, cold gnawed bone. 12, and then, wrong, a sliver of light bent where it shouldn't, an extra shard slicing the dark. 13. My chest seized. McLeod's voice cracked back in my skull. You don't wait. You don't watch. You go. I staggered for the hatch. The horn bellowed, a half beat off like a laugh. I turned once, too slow. The 13th panel was looking back, not reflecting, watching. A smear blossomed across it, wet. A handprint pressed from the inside. Water streaming down the fingers. For a heartbeat I froze. On the argil, I had hesitated. A man drowned. Not again. I slammed the cover shut, metal teeth clanging. My breath tore out raw. Downstairs, the barograph clattered, the needle spiked past the arc, scratching into blank paper. Pressure bent wrong, air itself unsteady. Salt dripped down my wrist, stinging a cut I hadn't felt open. I couldn't tell if it was sweat or seawater. Even with my eyes shut, I still saw it. That bent strip of light. The hand pressed back from inside the glass. The night didn't end. It stretched, heavy as stone. I didn't sleep, only sat hunched over the logbook, pen steady, trying not to shake. Writing it down kept the glass out of my head. Almost. At dawn, the sea pitched up, 2 figures on the dock, storm-racked, clothes torn, faces raw from salt. They waved, half-crawled toward the ladder. Liam, barely more than a boy. Seamus, older, a fisherman's eyes. I hauled them inside, my gloves stuck to their soaked coats. The smell of brine and diesel hit hard. They collapsed on the floorboards, coughing sea into the stone. You're the keeper? Liam's voice cracked. Thought this place was empty. It should be, I said. They traded a glance. Seamus crossed himself, lips pale. Empty lights mean nothing. Folks say the lamp burns brightest when the keeper's already gone. I didn't answer. The horn cried long and low, shaking dust from the rafters. Liam flinched. That sounds wrong. It's always wrong, Seamus muttered. I showed them the logbook. The rules scrawled in pencil. They laughed at first, but when they read, "Don't answer them," their eyes set different. Who's them? Liam asked. You'll hear. It didn't take long. Afternoon faded into gray, then black. The wind pressed the tower till the iron ribs creaked. Salt ran like sweat down the walls. At first I thought it was gulls, a high waver, soft, like children at play. Then words formed. Syllables caught in the moan of the tide. Callum? My stomach dropped. The voice was clear, bright. A girl, too young to be out here. Seamus stiffened, knuckles white on his cross. Don't answer. Liam looked at me. It said your name. I know. The voice came again, closer now, as if pressed to the stone outside. Callum. Cold out here. Let me in. My throat locked. Seamus hissed, keep quiet, that's how they mark you. I gripped the rail, nails biting into rust. Every instinct said shout back. Someone alive out there, freezing, needing help. Every training manual said otherwise. Never answer calls at sea unless confirmed by signal. Maybe it's a shipwreck, Liam whispered. Maybe. He started toward the door. I caught his arm hard. No. The horn bellowed, but wrong again. A note bent sideways. The glass upstairs groaned. Then I heard it, a reply, not from me, a single word, barely a whisper. Hello? We turned. Seamus stood frozen. Lips still parted, he hadn't meant to. The word had slipped out of him like a breath. The effect was instant. His breath fogged in a sharp plume, then faltered. Steam poured thinner, until none at all. He clutched at his chest, eyes wide, gasping without sound. Seamus? Liam rushed to him. The old fisherman staggered, hands trembling. The air around him shimmered cold, like heat haze reversed. His breath was gone, stolen. Frost spread up the window pane behind him, crawling inward. Water condensed and dripped down, even though the room was warm. He fell to his knees. I grabbed him, shook him. His skin was damp, slick as though pulled from the tide. But there was no air in him, no steam from his mouth. Outside, the voice sang, sweet as lullaby. Got you. The tower shuddered. Salt rattled loose from the ceiling. Liam backed into the corner, eyes darting from the frosted glass to Seamus convulsing on the floor. I dragged Seamus against the wall, pressed his chest. Useless. His skin burned cold under my hands, colder than steel. The foghorn cut mid-blast, choking off like a throat closed. Silence slammed the room. Then the horn gave one warped note, half a beat late, like a laugh. Seamus's breath never came back. His eyes found mine, glassy, terrified, then dulled. The cross slipped from his hand and clattered on the stone. The frost on the window melted, running in rivulets like tears. Liam whispered, "What the hell was that?" I didn't answer. I stared at the empty fog of air where Seamus's breath should have been. And I thought of the rule in my head, burning. Don't answer them. One word had been enough. The tower groaned all night. Salt ran in veins down the walls, dripping like sweat from stone. Seamus lay wrapped in canvas, his body already stiff. The supply room stank of brine and old rope. Liam wouldn't sit. He wore a groove in the stairwell with his pacing. Boots clanging, fists clenching open and shut. His face raw from salt, eyes darting like a trapped animal. "They called him," he whispered, voice ragged, "by name." And he answered, "What if they call me?" "Then don't answer." My throat felt like rusted wire. "That's all it takes. You stay silent." He stopped pacing, met my eyes. "My sister drowned off Barra when I was 10. They never found her body." If she called, his jaw locked. "How do I know it isn't her?" I had no answer. Midnight. The foghorn tore loose, half the note snagging. The light swung, cutting the fog to strips. That's when I saw her. Out on the causeway, standing where black stone met blacker sea. A woman in a yellow oilskin, coat snapping like torn sails, hair streaming upward as if the sea still held her by the scalp. Her stance was fixed. The coat thrashed, but her body never shifted with the wind. "Isla," Liam's breath broke, his sister's name. "No." My gut went cold. "No one stands like that." The horn moaned again, and her head turned, not with the gale, against it. Her face pale as salt, eyes pits cut into the light. She raised one arm, not waving, pointing. Down the pier. Liam moved. I grabbed his sleeve. "Rule 4, I hissed. "You do not follow her." "She's alive," his voice cracked. "She's waiting for me." "She isn't." My grip slipped on the wet cloth. They wear faces. The light swung, caught the stone beneath her. There was no shadow, only her coat snapping like lungs that weren't hers. Upstairs, the gear slipped, teeth grinding. My watch beeped sharp. We 3:17. We'd missed it. The horn bellowed, but late. Offbeat. Half strangled. The tower vibrated through my chest like a rib cracked out of place. Liam ripped free. He charged down the stairs, boots hammering iron. I followed, knees weak, palms skidding on the salted rail. We hit the causeway, the sea slammed teeth against stone, spray cutting like glass. The woman stood at the far end, coat thrashing, hair still streaming upward. She opened her mouth. No sound came. The horn filled it. Every blast matched the shape of her lips. Liam stumbled forward, arms out. "Isla?" I dragged him back by the collar. "Don't look, don't move." He fought me, screaming over the wind. "She's real." The horn's tone warped, late again, mocking. The lamp above us stuttered, 2 seconds off. I could feel the misstep like a skipped heartbeat. Her coat ballooned once, as if some other chest swelled inside it. My stomach turned to stone. I hauled Liam, kicking back inside. My boots slipped. Rust tore my palm open. We slammed the door as the horn groaned again, rattling bolts. Inside, the stairwell shook. My watch ticked 3:19. Too late. Liam pressed against the wall, face white, eyes shining with something I couldn't stop. What if she was real? She wasn't. My voice broke. But what if she was? Upstairs, the lamp's gears ground late, the rhythm wrong, clattering against its own teeth, a beat off, then 2. I pressed my bleeding hand into the logbook. Salt stunned the cut. The words swam red across the page. "Rule 4, you do not follow the woman in the yellow coat." I underlined until the paper tore. The horn bellowed once more. Thick, too slow, like laughter in the dark. The tower hadn't stopped creaking since the night with the woman. Salt kept crawling down the walls in pale threads, like the stone itself was bleeding brine. Every time the horn groaned, it missed a beat. A breath late, wrong. I marked it in the log with a shaking hand. That morning, the tender dropped Ewan McInnes. He came up the spiral with a case slung over his shoulder, boots too clean for the island. He didn't ask about Seamus, didn't ask why Liam stared holes through the stone floor. He just set the case down in the lantern room like it was an altar. "Thermal camera," he said. "If you're hearing voices, if you're seeing shapes, let's quantify it." The machine looked out of place against brass and glass older than any of us. Black plastic, LEDs, a lens that blinked red. When it whirred alive, the air filled with a thin sting, like ozone, like wires frying inside the walls. Liam gagged. I smelled it too. Sharp, metallic, wrong. Ewan clipped the feed to a little monitor, set it on a crate, green static rolled, then steadied. Black tower rooms painted in gradients of heat. He nodded like a priest opening scripture. "Stone, sweat, salt," he muttered. "Temperature flux, nothing more." But on the screen, the stairwell wasn't empty. Negative shapes stood carved out of warmth. Humanoid voids, colder than the stone. They didn't move, didn't blink, just cut holes in the heat. Liam backed away until he hit the wall, his knuckles white on the rail. "That's them," he whispered. "That's them." "Artifacts," Ewan snapped. His voice had an edge now, a little too high. Heat differential, old masonry, damp conduction, perfectly explainable. I didn't answer, because the voids shifted, just slightly, like heads turning in unison, not toward the camera, toward us. The barograph downstairs ticked, needle snapping an inch without reason. Salt rattled loose from the ceiling, falling like backwards rain. Ewan leaned closer to the monitor, so close his breath fogged the plastic. Except the fog didn't spread forward, it pulled inward, condensing against the screen as if the cold inside was sucking him in. Liam screamed. He lunged for the hatch, trying to bolt. I caught his coat, hauled him back. He clawed at me, eyes wild. It's Isla, she's waiting, she's waiting." "Stay in the tower," I barked. "You step out, you're gone." Ewan ignored us both. He unlatched the side panel, fingers working too fast. "If I get closer, the signature will normalize. You'll see. Data over superstition." "Shut it!" I slammed the panel closed. He fought me. Sudden strength in his arms, the monitor rattled, static hissing. Then the shapes bloomed clear. Hollow bodies, rib cages empty, mouths open in perfect doze. One lifted a hand on the glass wall behind us. Frost spread in a perfect circle. Palm-shaped from the inside. I threw Ewan back. He hit the rail, grip slipping. His hand shook on the metal, knuckles pale. Still he whispered, voice thin, cracked. "Data. Data." The lens rotation above us staggered 2 seconds late. Wrong. Always wrong. I dragged Liam down a level before he tore the hatch open. He was sobbing now, muttering Isla's name like a prayer or curse. When I forced myself back up to the lantern, Ewan hadn't moved from the monitor. His reflection hovered over the screen, layered with the cold silhouettes. And in the glass itself, the Fresnel plates, 3 faces pressed from the other side. They didn't line up with any man standing there. Not with me, not with Ewan, not with Liam. 3 faces, watching, waiting. The horn below moaned again, 1 beat too late, like laughter. The night didn't cool, it froze from the inside. Salt crusted thicker on the lantern stairs, crunching under boots like brittle glass. Every time the Fresnel turned, it hitched, a jolt in the gears like teeth grinding bone. Ewan kept replaying the footage, jaw tight, eyes sunk into the monitor glow. "Artifacts," he muttered, even though his hand wouldn't leave his knee, shaking. Liam sat against the wall, whispering Isla's name into the crook of his arm. At 037, my body knew before the clock ticked. My gut clenched, breath short, routine, count the pains. I dragged myself up the last stair into the lantern chamber. The light swam heavy, a pulse of brass and heat. I pressed my palm against the logbook, steadying it, then turned to the glass. One by one, the panels flashed as the lens revolved. 12 faces, always 12. My mouth moved with the count, barely a breath each time. 1, 2, 3. The horn groaned below, staggered. Too late again. Salt dust fell from the ceiling, raining sideways. 7, 8. Behind me the monitor hissed, negative silhouettes sharpened. 9, 10, 11, 12. The 12th blink stretched too long. The light bent wrong, beam folding on itself like a spine breaking. And then, there it was, 13. A pane where no pane should be. Glass cut from absence, not reflecting the room, reflecting me but wrong. Eyes pale, breath fogging on the inside, not the out. Jesus, Liam choked behind me. It's her. He rushed forward, palm smacking glass, forehead pressed like he could crawl through. On the other side, the 13th column tilted its head. Beside it, 2 more figures leaned into the pane, mouths opening in unison. The barograph needle downstairs snapped. Not ticked, snapped, stuck hard against the end of its scale. Pressure wrong. Air wrong. Ewan staggered up beside me, eyes locked. His voice frayed, words cracking. It's a recording. Cold front inversion, nothing there. But his mouth twitched with every syllable, and his pupils skittered like trapped flies. The Fresnel gears jolted. Instead of sweeping steady, the lamp lurched back half a beat, then forward again. The whole tower shuddered. The 3 faces pressed harder. Their lips didn't match ours. Their eyes blinked out of sync. One smiled. Liam slammed his fist against the glass. I see you! I see you! His breath fogged thick, sticking to the wrong side of the pane. I grabbed him back, wrenching his coat. It isn't her. My voice cracked, almost lost in the horn's moan. Ewan stumbled toward the hatch, half ready to open it just to prove us wrong. I shoved him against the wall. He crumpled, teeth clenched, whispering still, "Data, data." The monitor wheezed static. On screen, the void silhouettes tilted their heads the same way the glass faces did. Perfect sync. The light's sweep froze. The chamber went dark, but for the glow of the monitor. 3 pale shapes gleamed in its wash, pressed inside the Fresnel plates. I could feel their eyes on me, hot as welding arcs. And then, ice spread from the 13th panel, crawling in veins across the brass frame. My breath turned shards in my chest. I tore the logbook open with shaking hands. Ink bled from salt-damp pages. I scrawled fast, gouging through the paper. Rule 6. When you count 12, there will be 13. The faces in the glass are not yours. The tower groaned deep, a sound too human. The horn moaned late again, and this time the delay was a laugh. The tower hadn't slept. Neither had we. The horn kept moaning late, 1 beat off, like a man forgetting his cue. Every time, salt shook loose from the beams, rattling down on us like rain falling sideways. By morning, the supply boat pushed through the chop. I saw the gray hull slide into the cove, engine coughing against the swell. A lone man hunched on deck, coat patched, cap pulled low. Hamish Kerr. I knew his name before he spoke. Every lighthouse hand in the north did. He was the one who had lasted here longer than anyone, then left without explanation. The moment he set foot on the causeway, the air shifted. Salt stung raw, fog pressed closer. He walked stiff, careful. His eyes never touched the lantern room above. "Keeper," he said to me, voice gravel ground with whiskey. "You've seen them, not a question." Ewan bristled, stepping forward with his notebook clutched tight. "We've seen anomalies, optical feedback, nothing more." Hamish looked past him, at Liam rocking in the stairwell, still muttering Isla's name, at the salt streaks carved into the walls, at the logbook, pages warped with brine. "They never left," he whispered. His lips barely moved. He wouldn't climb to the lantern chamber. He kept one hand on the rail, but his boots stayed 2 steps shy of the top. His knuckles whitened. "Don't count," he muttered. "Not allowed. That's how they learn your rhythm." I asked him what he meant. He shook his head, face gone gray. Seamus came up the stairs then, drawn by Hamish's voice. He still stank of the storm, clothes damp, hair matted with salt. His eyes darted everywhere like shadows were chasing him. Hamish stiffened, his whisper rasped, "He's already marked." I turned. Seamus's breath was shallow, patchy. Frost traced from his lips when he exhaled. The others saw it too. Liam shrank back. Ewan scribbled furiously, muttering about condensation gradients. Seamus grabbed Hamish's sleeve. "Tell me what you know. You worked here. Tell me how to make it stop." Hamish's mouth worked, but only a thread of sound came. "You don't make it stop. You last, or you don't." The foghorn groaned, offbeat, a sound like someone laughing through water. The stairwell light flickered. Salt streaked down the wall in rivulets, like sweat. Seamus flinched, backing up. His boots left wet prints that didn't fade. Then he was climbing. Fast, like someone pulled him upward. His hands didn't grip the rail. His boots struck each step hard, wet soles slapping. "Seamus," I shouted, lunging after him. Liam tried too. Ewan froze, pen scratching without words. Hamish only closed his eyes. "Don't follow." We chased up anyway, but the top step was bare. Just a puddle spreading wide, glittering with salt. His boots stood side by side, soaked through, laces splayed. No man inside them. The lantern gears groaned. One beat out of time. The air turned sharp in my lungs like breathing glass. I staggered back, logbook clutched against me. The ink was already bleeding from the last rule, salt water dragging it down the page. I tore a new line into the margin with a shaking hand. Rule 7. When one is taken, they leave only what was worn. Don't chase, don't climb. Hamish leaned against the rail, face pale, lips cracked. "It claimed him because he answered," he rasped. "They only need one word, one look, that's all." The horn moaned again, dragging low, breaking into a choke. Liam covered his ears. "Stop it, just stop." His voice cracked, too close to the same mistake. I slammed the logbook shut, salt water dripping from the pages onto the steel grating. "They're not done," Hamish whispered. "They never were." The tower shuddered, like something breathing beneath the stone. Salt dust coated the stairwell. It rattled when we moved, like rain running the wrong way. Hamish sat on the lower landing, hunched, coughing crystals into his palm. Liam paced, muttering Isla's name. Ewan's hands shook, but he kept scribbling charts, his pen tearing damp paper. The air itself tilted. My ears filled, like the tower was a lung about to exhale. We decided. Daylight or not, we had to open the back chamber. The hatch was chained, swollen with rust. My gloves slipped. Liam shouldered it, too eager, too loud. The lock snapped, salt bleeding from the crack as if it were marrow. Inside, darkness clung to the walls, damp but pulsing faint blue-white. A lamp sat on its side. Old Fresnel segments scattered, all eaten with salt. Yet one shard still burned, not flame. Something colder. Green-white, steady as a signal flare. "It's just residual phosphor," Ewan said. His voice cracked. He wiped his glasses, though they were already clean. Hamish wheezed from the stairs. "It shouldn't burn at all." We stepped in. The door slammed itself behind us. The whole chamber turned to glass. Light folded, bent against itself. The beam spun opposite the main tower. Left, while the lighthouse went right. Our compasses spun madly, needles whining against glass like insects. The logbook in my chest pocket rattled, pages tugging as though pulled toward the shard. The horn groaned from above, one beat late, then another. Lower, dragging. Voices seeped from the walls, not the sea this time. The stone itself breathed. Callum, my name, drawn out, then Liam's, then Ewan's. Liam ran to the shard, arms wide like it was a hearth. He whispered Isla over and over. The green-white flame painted his teeth, too sharp in his grin. Ewan snapped. "It's interference, optical, don't you see?" His voice trembled. Data and denial locked in a choke. I grabbed him before he lunged closer. His coat stank of ozone and iron. The shard's glow swelled until it drowned the chamber. Two beams crossed through the slit windows, one from the main lens, gold-white, sweeping slow. One from the shard, green-white, sweeping opposite. They collided in the fog outside, grinding against each other like gears stripped bare. The sound was unbearable, metal screaming, salt shearing. My teeth ached as if being filed. I wrote by feel in the log, pen gouging through paper. Rule 8. If two lights cross, don't follow either. The ink spread, veins of blue in the salt-soaked paper. Liam cried out. He was at the window, arms lifted like a signalman. The shard's beam lit him green, the tower's beam lit him gold. He stood in both at once, his outline splitting. For an instant I saw two Liams, one grinning with Isla's eyes, one screaming with his own. Ewan clawed at my shoulder. "We have to measure it, Callum. Look at the convergence." His glasses fogged from inside. He shook, caught between terror and hunger. I dragged him back. The shard pulsed, every beat matched by the horn above. Late, wrong, slower each time. Then the compass box burst. Needles shot out, embedding in the wood, humming like struck tuning forks. The smell of hot iron and brine filled the chamber. Hamish bellowed from the stairs, his voice ragged. "Get out! Don't let the beams take you." I yanked the hatch. It resisted, swollen with salt, but gave. Light spilled past us, chasing like water forcing through a crack. We stumbled out. Liam's scream cut short. When I turned back, only his boots lay in the crossed light, filled with salt, hard as stone. The horn moaned above, dragging, 2 beats late now, like breath through a broken throat. The shard still burned inside, both beams still turned. Crossing, grinding. I wrote it again in the log, gouging deeper, tearing through the paper until salt water bled up from the fibers. Rule 8: don't follow either beam. By afternoon the weather went flat, no gusts, no chop, like the island was holding its breath. The barograph traced a straight line and stayed there. A dead pulse on paper. Each breath scraped shallow, as if the tower leaned on my chest. I logged it. The ink bled and wouldn't dry. Hamish sat 2 steps below the lantern room, where he always stopped, never higher. He coughed into his palm and showed me what came up. Fine white grit. Salt crystals ground to powder. His other hand worried a pocket watch until the chain clicked. The face was spidered with cracks. The hands were frozen at 3:17. "Don't count where they can hear," he rasped. "Don't say what you see. They learn you." Ewan hovered by the stairs with his notebook and a little recorder from his kit. He hadn't asked about Liam's empty boots. He didn't have to. We carried our mugs around them without speaking. The salt crust on the laces cracked underfoot, like glass. "What do they want?" I asked. "Warmth," Hamish said. "What else is there here?" He opened his fingers, held his hand out, skin white as old wax. I pressed it. The shock ran to the bone. Not weather cold, cold like metal that never knew heat. My fingertips went numb and stayed that way. "I gave it," he said, eyes on the stairs. "Sat with my back to the glass, night after night. Let them drink through the pain. Not much, just enough to make them stop looking for a while." A shrug, without pride. "It buys you another dawn." "Buys?" Ewan said. "You're describing heat transfer like a bargain with—" "Don't put numbers on it," Hamish cut in. "They like numbers." The horn down in the throat of the tower didn't just groan. It lagged behind itself, a beat late like air dragged through cracked ribs. Outside, the swell pressed and peeled back in long sheets. Kelp stink hung in the still air. Somewhere down the cliff a chain tapped the rock, slow, regular, as if something had learned our rhythm and was knocking it back. We took tea to the gallery and watched the sea. Guillemot sat in a black line on a ledge and didn't make a sound. No wind, no birds, only the slow suck of water in the cuts. Then the voices started. Not out in the fog this time, from below the cliff line, as if the stone had a throat. A child first, thin, bright, then older tones braided in behind, learning how to be many. "Hamish," it sang. "Hamish, old man, come warm us." He pressed his lips together until they whitened. The pocket watch chain stopped ticking. "Ewan," the chorus tried, smooth as oil. "Ewan, measure us." He raised the recorder an inch, then froze, jaw jumping. Proof against superstition was a fight you could watch happen in his face. His thumb hovered over the red button, trembled, fell away. Then my name, clean, practiced. "Callum." I set my mug down before it rattled. The barograph line didn't move. The paper didn't even flutter. The tower hadn't breathed in hours. "Don't answer," Hamish whispered. I didn't plan to. Rule 5, do not acknowledge the voices after dark. Do not answer if they call your name. They know your name. The sea said it again. closer. Callum. Ewan swallowed. It's phenomenal. A standing wave in the gully. Shut it, Hamish hissed without turning. The chorus changed shape. It stopped being many and became a single man. A cadence I knew before the first word finished. Fraser, he said. Not Callum, my surname. Clipped, impatient, the way he used to bark it across engine noise. I didn't realize I'd stood up until the mug went over, tea running under my boot. Fraser, for God's sake, the sea said in that voice. You left me coughing water. The steel room on the Argyle, the handhold ripping away. The slow fold backward as the wave took him, the silence after. I hadn't heard him since. Don't, Hamish said, barely sound. That one's sharp, it cuts going in. The horn slurred behind its own rhythm, late, then later, like a drunk bellows. From the cliff, the swell smacked and withdrew and smacked again. Each withdrawal left a wide white oval of foam that didn't break, an open mouth hanging there as if the sea were holding it wide to speak. It formed my name. It held it. Fraser. You heard me and you did nothing. Say something now. My throat closed. Everything in me leaned toward throwing words into that mouth. Ewan's recorder ticked between his fingers, a tiny plastic click. He didn't press it. He watched my face like a man watches another edge toward a drop. Is that him? He whispered. From your ship? I shook my head. It looked like no. Felt like yes. I wrapped my hand around the rail until rust bit the cut from 2 nights back. Pain cleared the fog, salt burned. Blood started again. It isn't him, I said. Not to the sea, to myself. The water tried once more. It dropped to the bare lip of sound the way he used to when we leaned helmets together to hear. Fraser. Please. Hamish's cold hand found my arm and stayed. Not dragging, not clamping, just there. A weight reminding me I was on a rock, with breath in me I could choose to keep. I didn't answer. I let the wave pull its mouth off the stone and vanish. The chorus came back irritated, and broke into children again. Names rolled and rolled, Ewan's, Hamish's, mine. They called until the horn cut them off with a late, ugly blat that shook dust from the rafters. The birds lifted all at once and went, black skeins snapping across the gray, vanishing into the still. We stood a long time without talking. Back at the desk, the barograph traced its deadline. I opened the log and wrote with a hand still shaking. Rule 5, amended, do not answer. They will use the voices you owe. They will speak with your dead. A swell hit the cliff just below. When it drew back, the foam left a clean oval again, like a mouth trying to form a word it couldn't keep. We stepped around Liam's boots. The salt on their laces crackled underfoot. I closed the book and didn't give the sea a word. The tower held its breath. I kept mine, and the sea kept talking without me. The horn dragged itself late again, like a drunk voice trying to keep time. Each call slurred against the stone, pulling the salt in my chest with it. None of us had slept. Ewan hunched over his recorder, eyes hollow behind lenses fogged on the inside. Hamish sat with his pocket watch open, staring at its frozen hands. And Liam was pressed to the gallery glass, knuckles white on the frame, whispering. At first I thought he was praying. Then I heard the name. Jamie. The tide was slack. Dawn a faint smear over the causeway. Down at the edge of the stone, through mist and broken spray, a figure stood. Shoulders broad, stance familiar from the docks back home, it raised a hand slow, like a man calling his brother in from the cold. Liam's voice cracked. It's him, my brother. He came. Ewan swore, fumbling at the lock. I shoved the bolt home, but Liam slammed into me, feral, teeth bared like an animal. His nails scored my arm through the wool. You don't understand, he spat. He promised. When the sea took him, he swore he'd come back. Hamish didn't move from his chair. He only rasped, claimed. The door shuddered without wind. Hinges screamed. Cold poured in, not the wet chill of a gale, but the absence of all warmth, a vacuum that hollowed the marrow. The smell of kelp and iron followed it like breath. A hand clamped the rail, fingers pale, nails black, brine dripping. crystals already spreading across the metal as though the touch itself froze time. Liam lurched forward. Ewan and I caught his shoulders. He fought us with a strength I wouldn't have believed, kicking, sobbing. For a second, I thought we had him. Then the hand found his ankle. He screamed once, but the sound collapsed in his throat as if yanked backward. His breath fogged out white, then snapped back into his mouth, choking him. The bones of his legs stretched, bent. Then the boot came loose in my hands, slick with brine, empty. He was gone. The sea didn't move, but spray rose in plumes, lifting in silence like smoke. Below, a shadow drifted just beneath the surface, face turned upward, eyes wide, burning with that green-white shine, watching, not drowning. The thermal unit shrieked, as though the SEA itself had plugged into its circuits. Ewan staggered to the screen. I saw it over his shoulder. Not blanks this time. Not hollow silhouettes. A table set for supper. Frost spread across the edges. A family gathered close. Children, a woman, shapes blurred, but every eye gleamed with inverted fire. At the head, Liam, already seated, already smiling. He turned toward us as though he'd been there all along. His mouth shaped a name that wasn't mine. Ewan's glasses steamed darker. Data? There's no heat signature. But his voice was breaking, cracking in places where denial couldn't reach. Hamish bowed his head. The sea keeps what it takes. The logbook's pages were damp, swelling in my grip. Ink bled sideways, but I forced the words in jagged strokes. Rule 7. Anyone the sea shows you, blood or not, is not yours. When I looked back up, frost had crawled across the gallery rail in the shape of hands. Perfect. Reaching. As if dozens had hauled themselves up to lean into the glass. I couldn't breathe for the salt. Through the warped pain, I saw him again. Liam beneath the water, body still, face raised, eyes burning back at me. The horn slurred late, dragging the tower's breath, and mine with it. The gallery rail still glittered with the print of too many hands. Frosted ridges spread along the metal like veins, branching out where Liam had been torn from us. I kept my grip on the logbook, even as the ink ran sideways with damp. Ewan's breath rattled, high and fast, fogging his glasses. Hamish sat folded into himself, his pocket watch dead at 3:17, his lips moving without sound. The horn dragged late again, but the lag was widening. 2 beats slurred, then 3. The tower stuttered, as if it could not remember its own rhythm. Salt pattered from the ceiling, clicking against the stone in time with nothing. We had one chance. The main generator was coughing itself out, pressure dropping in uneven bursts. But the auxiliary still had teeth left. If we forced them both into the system, side by side, we might drown the false beacon with raw light, just long enough to burn whatever nested in the walls. Hamish croaked when I said it. 2 lights never hold. His voice cracked to dust. Ewan didn't care. His hunger was bigger than fear. Parallel them. Synchronize. It's interference. That's all it is. His hands shook as he fumbled the leads, sparks snapping in the wet air. The smell of ozone clung heavy, mixing with mold and brine. We dragged the cabling across the floor, salt crunching underfoot. Each coil weighed more than rope should, as though soaked through with centuries. My arms burned, but I didn't stop. I thought of Liam's eyes shining under the black water. I thought of Siamas's boots left empty on the stair. Hamish rose unsteady, leaning into the wall. His hand left no sweat, no heat, only frost. He tried to catch my arm. Callum, leave it. You keep the light, they keep you. His eyes were milked over, his face hollow. For a moment I saw the younger keeper he must have been, waiting in silence all those years, bargaining piece by piece with the dark. I pulled free. When we threw the breakers, the tower howled. Both generators caught, teeth grinding, and the whole island shook. The floor lurched, plaster snowing down. The Fresnel spun, beam jagged, while from the auxiliary chamber a second pulse burst outward. Green-white, blinding, searing even through shut lids. The horn brayed double. 2 voices staggered apart, one dragging behind the other like a drunk echo. My teeth hurt in time with it. The windows screamed in their frames. And then, through the fogged glass of the locked chamber, they appeared. Not shadows this time, not outlines, full figures pressed against the inside, faces warped by refracted light. Keepers, dozens, mouths opening in sync, though no sound came, until one voice broke through, in a crack of air and salt. "Join us. Keep the light forever." Hamish staggered forward as if yanked by a hook. His watch slipped from his hand, vanishing into the vibrating floor. His lips moved with theirs, forming the same words. He reached toward the glow, trembling, no longer resisting. I shouted. Ewan screamed at him to stop, but the chamber light strobed faster, wrapping him in pulses. His skin cracked along the jaw, salt powder spilling like breath. He smiled, for the first and last time I would see, and whispered, "Finally warm." The pulse took him. His body crumbled outward, till it collapsing into a storm of crystalline dust. The light caught it, scattering him through the beam. He rose as glitter into the circling glass, vanished into the turning. The floor bucked under us. Something in the walls groaned like bone splitting. A fuse blew, a blinding flash, the smell of burned copper. One of the main bus bars sagged red, dripping molten sparks. The sizzle roared against the horn's slurred cry. I dragged Ewan down behind the console as the chamber seared the stone with light. His nails dug into my arm, eyes wild, his recorder still clenched, though it no longer glowed. I wrote with a shaking hand, letters scarring into the sodden log. Rule 7 again, the sea takes its due, no matter who you are. The dust of Hamish still drifted in the beam, glittering. The tower groaned like a ribcage forced wider than bone should bend. And outside, the fog thickened, hiding the sea. The horn tore itself apart. One note fractured into two, into three, each dragging behind the other like echoes caught in stone. Then, silence, not pause, not rest. Silence as if the air itself had been removed from the island. The beam convulsed, green-white slashing through fog, and for the first time since I stepped on Flannan, I felt it strike against something. The shapes that clung to the tower, that seeped between walls, began to blister under the light. Faces stretched in mute howls, peeling like wet paper as the beam carved through them. They staggered along the walls, thin as smoke, and broke apart in sprays of salt. Ewan screamed into the recorder, desperate, but no sound came out. His voice was eaten, stripped before it left his throat. Still he shouted. Pages of his notebook scattering across the console. They stuck wet to the stone, curling at the edges, black ink bleeding into white crystals. I pressed both palms to the railing. It shuddered beneath me, vibrating with the resonance of two machines tearing each other down. My bones felt hollow, filled with the same buzz. I thought I might splinter if I let go. Outside, the sea rose, not in waves, but in stature. The fog pulled back like a curtain. Walls of water stood unnaturally still. Every surface foamed into the shape of mouths, opening, shutting, hundreds, thousands, biting against nothing. Their chorus was gone. The world was mute, and then the light forced them back. Each sweep of the Fresnel cleaved the sea, splitting salt mouths into spray. The figures dissolved, broken apart like ashen surf. The children's song, the whispers of the dead, all of it guttered out, leaving only the roar of light. Hamish's dust still circled in the beam, glittering silver. I could not tell if he was freed or folded deeper into it. The pulse grew hotter, brighter, until even with my eyes closed the lids burned. I felt Ewan shaking against my shoulder, his nails breaking as he clawed to hold on. And then, nothing. The power slammed down. Both generators died mid-breath. The horn collapsed in its throat. The light choked off. Darkness filled every seam of the tower. For a moment, all I heard was our own bodies. Pulse, breath, the trickle of water down stone. Then the gulls, crying, sharp and ordinary. And the wind, rushing free through broken glass. And the sea, just sea, hurling itself against rock with no voice hidden in it. I stumbled to the window. Gray dawn swelled at the horizon, ordinary as slate. Waves churned white against the base of the tower. No figures walked the quay, no yellow dress whipped in the gale. But the air smelled scorched, as if light had burned matter itself. Ewan slumped beside me, the recorder dead in his lap. His glasses hung cracked, one lens gone. He stared at nothing. "It worked," he whispered, or maybe asked. I could not answer. Because when I turned toward the lens to check it, to count, habit, ritual, compulsion, I saw what should never be. The glass still turned, though the power was gone. Slow, deliberate, like lungs pushing without air. And in its rotation I counted, 1 pane, 2, 3. My lips moved with it, though I bit down to stop. 10, 11, 12, 13. The 13th facet held me. Reflected me. Not warped, not doubled, just me, standing there in the glass, but wrong. The eyes, my eyes burned green-white, steady as the beam that had just died. My reflection did not blink, did not breathe. Behind me, Ewan asked again, voice shredded. "It worked?" I opened the logbook with a hand that felt no longer mine. The pages were damp, torn from salt and blood. I pressed the pencil down so hard the tip snapped, smearing the words anyway. Final rule: the light does not keep you, you keep it. The radio on the console hissed alive, though no power remained. A scratch of static, then a voice. Faint, stretched like it came from beneath miles of water. "Keeper." The 13th reflection held its gaze, patient, endless. I closed my eyes, I did not breathe. The sea spoke without sound, the light turned without power. And I kept the log. Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to Dr. Noctis for more horror stories from the dark.